Now, perhaps this is a Bonnie size problem, but I always thought Blender was a lot more involved than it actually is. So I wanted to do just a quick intro to Blender, and then you two can explore how it might fit into your workflow. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Edit, Preferences, and you're going to have to download the Blossom OSM from GitHub. Will put the links in the notes, but it's really easy to find. I got the upgraded version just so the developer can make a little more money, and it's got a little more bells and whistles in it. But the free is fine too. Maybe kick over a little donation as well. But when you download it, there's a few things you just have to understand about this download. So what you're going to want to do is pretend you didn't see it already there. You go to install from disk, and here it is in my user file where I download it, but you don't want that version. Apple will unzip it for you. You do not want it unzipped. So you want to find it here. If you have it zipped and you're on a Mac OS, it'll unzip it. If you just hit condense, it'll put it back, and then that's where you're going to install it from, right here. And you're also going to have this asset folder. I can't remember if the asset comes with the basic or just with the upgraded one, but just in case, you don't have to unzip this one. This one, or zip it. This one, you just need the path file, and I'll show you that in just a second. So once it installs, which is pretty quick, you'll get it. It'll already be checked right here in the newest version of Blender. And all you have to do is like scroll down and make sure that you have these paths defined. What's the directory to store, to download these OpenStreetMap and terrain files? You click this and find where you want to keep it. The directory with the assets, the building materials, vegetation, road, all that, where's that going to be? You need to define these or it's just not going to work. Don't look at my map keys. You have to enter your Mapbox satellite key and your Google 3D key if you want to use 3D tiles from Google. Don't be afraid. You do have to give them a credit card, but I assure you they give you enough of a credit that you're not going to hit it unless you're doing some big. And if you're doing that anyway, you should be paying, right? You won't even come close if you're just doing this for exploratory. And what you can do in Google, there are settings. You might have to look for them a little bit on that map platform where you can say, let me know when I'm at this level and that level. So it's not all of a sudden you just get an invoice and you don't know what the hell's going on. So we have this, put your keys, you scroll down, you'll see your keys. And then once you've done that, we return to this opening screen. You don't need this 3D object. It's like a placeholder for a 3D object. You can morph it using the huge amount of tools in Blender, but we don't need to because we're going to be bringing in objects. So let's get rid of that. This is your camera. The camera is very important, but not for what we're doing today. The reason it's important is because what you're looking at isn't necessarily what the camera's looking at, because you're re-envisioning a 3D environment in 2D. So your camera is going to become a lot more important when you start moving around those fields. Here's your light. This is helpful too because when you get your cityscape built up, if you move it around, you can have shading, you can decide how you want the buildings to look, blah, blah, blah. So here what we're going to do first, and I'm just going to do it for you, but you understand, you hit select. Oh, so wait a minute. Blossom's going to be over here on the side. If you don't see this panel right here, you'll just have to click a little chevron and then all your add-ons will show up here. I have the Blossom and the Cesium. We're not going to talk about this one today, but probably in the future. So once you hit the Blossom, you're going to see this. So if you hit select, another screen opens up. It's on my other monitor. And that's where you like lasso an area, you type something in. I think I wrote something about the West Village in New York. Because for demonstration purposes, you don't want this gigantic thing, and it will limit you on how big of an area. I'm just showing you how easy it is to get started. So I'm trying to pick something that might be a little easier to do. Something I tend to forget that you don't want to. You see this thing, you're going to have this huge screen. If you just want this focal length to be that small, you might have to hunt around this grid for it. So what I do is I put a number at least 10,000, but I usually go way more, so that you can find your you can find. And now we're going to go back to Blossom. And we're going to put a terrain. Just, it's like a surface for things to project onto. And it's going to show you what we've downloaded. And you can see it here. Here is and you can tell that there's a little bit of we have a little bit of a bump here. I forget what I what I probably picked up in the neighborhood. We will see it. We imported it. Now we're going to look at our image overlay, which kind of is what we're going to project everything onto. And you want, for this case, let's start with the Mapbox satellite. So we have that all set up, and we're going to import. And you'll see your tiles upload here. And I didn't make it huge so that it would happen relatively quickly. The bottom overlay is still populating, that's why it's not full. But if you're just using OpenStreetMap, this is how we have this imported. And you can move around the canvas, move this around. And now I'm going to show you how to do the 3D tile.